Welcome to Nobody Asked, the show nobody asked for, backed by popular demand. It's our second episode back, and we have a viewer in before the stream starts. Hello, Barbie. Good to see you again. It's me, Colin,
It's me,
and
Maria.
that's my mom.
Yep.
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 And we have a show where we talk about politics because we what is a good intro for that? I think that this show started when we were having breakfast at a Warren's in Roy, Utah.
Probably.
Sort of, right? In a way. I think I would come visit, and then we would talk for probably 2 hours and have multiple refills of Diet Coke and Coke Zero at Warren's. While having Warren's is like a fast food place, but it's like a diner in the morning. You order at the counter, but this is waiters. It was so nice, and they had a delicious breakfast wrap, and I loved it. Um, and and we'd have these long conversations, and then we would convince ourselves that other people wanted to listen to them. And it
Yep.
turns out that's true. There are 6 people that want to listen to them. So and that's the show. Barbie says, Colin, are you still doing any stand-up? None of your business. And also no. I have not been. I have been writing sketches. Oh, look, it's a script for a sketch that I've been writing. Ooh. Ooh. Do you want to hear the concept of this sketch?
I mean, I guess.
Why get into the actual show when we can shoot the shit at the very beginning? I think that's normal for a podcast. You shoot the shit for a little bit, and then you talk about what's going on.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Critolyn.
Hey!
Okay, the sketch is called Karaoke Night. Here's the elevator pitch for it, okay?
Okay.
It's a group of friends that are getting together, and they're getting ready for the night, and it's like a pre-film on SNL, right? So there's cuts and scenes in multiple venues. But they're pre-gaming before, and it's a group of 5 friends, and all of the narrative components leading to the actual karaoke moment, which is the punchline of the whole thing, are moments that are showing that there is one character, Sam, that is sort of like the social glue of this friend group. Everyone just thinks that he's a good guy. One of the girls has a crush on him. He brought somebody in that sort of has a hard time making friends. They all sort of revolve around this one guy, and he's just generally a very good guy. And so they go out drinking, they go to a karaoke place, and then one of them hands him the microphone. They're like, "Oh, I think you put this song on." He's like, "Oh yeah." And then the song that comes on that he's going to sing karaoke to is "The Blacker the Berry" by Kendrick Lamar, which is, if you guys don't know it, which I think is fair if you guys don't know it, a song about black on black violence from Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, Mad City. And this white guy just commits to no end. And then the whole punchline of the skit is watching his friends who love and respect him, watching their faces, like the color slowly drain from their faces, as he commits so hard to rapping Kendrick Lamar. And that is the skit. That's my elevator pitch for it.
I mean, I think it could work.
I think it could work. It's based on a true story of when not a social glue member of the friend group, but one of my friend's boyfriend came out to do karaoke with us, and he put on "Not Like Us" by Kendrick Lamar. And then he started rapping it, and he's Asian, and he started rapping the N-word hard, and no one knew what to do. And then he was like, "Come on, somebody do it with me." And then he handed me the microphone. So then I was doing the weird white guy pause for every N-word, because I do know all the lyrics to "Not Like Us" by Kendrick Lamar. But I was so I don't know if I'm sort of passively endorsing this by being a participant in this karaoke. And he was hitting those N-bombs like you would not believe. And it really destroyed the night. I mean, we were having such a good time together. And then his girlfriend was like, what were you doing? And then he's like, "Oh, I thought it was cool." And then but then other people felt like they shouldn't get in on their like couple argument, but then the argument was very loud, and then afterwards somebody's singing like Alanis Morissette while the couple is arguing, and it was just not good. It was not good energy, and thus this skit was born.
Yeah,
I'm
that is not.
probably Sam. When I've pitched this before and I described Sam, I've been accused of self-inserting, and then I said, "Just wait for the punchline." So it's fine. It's fine. My Blackie friends told me years ago to just say ninja instead of the N word when rapping. LOL. Yeah, I've heard neighbor.
Yep,
That
neighbor.
was if you went to a Brockhampton concert. I mean, it was like 90% white kids in this audience, and people would say neighbor for it. Um, I've heard Nilla, which I don't love. Uh, yeah, I've heard Ninja. Um, I just opt for the awkward pause, for the closing your mouth so that people really see that you are not hitting it. But such is
I
life.
remember like you had an obsession with Green Day when you were in like third and fourth grade. You were probably a little young for it, but you loved it. And of course, at that age, we don't
Still
want
do.
you saying the swear words. So there was, I mean, it was the word shit. It wasn't even like the worst thing ever. But we get you to say chips instead.
Jesus of suburbia.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Everyone's so full of
everyone.
chips.
Yep.
Yeah. That was that. I still say that because of the censored alternate versions of words. I think the most imaginative one is full of chips. That guy's full of chips. I like it. I like it more than full of shit. I mean, it's sort of full of shit, but it's full of chips. I love Green Day with my whole heart. I still listen to American Idiot probably once a month, and I say full of chips when I currently sing it. So
Oh yeah. I mean, I think you went down to the aisle to a Green Day song, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, yeah. We went down the aisle to. It was one of the ones from the musical, but there's a love song in the musical, um, and we went down the aisle to that, and it was cute.
Crinolin's got the heart grenade tattoo on her arm. That's pretty cool.
Oh, there you go. I don't, but I would, but I don't. Uh, don't you have a friend that like partied with Green Day pre Dookie era?
Yes, I
Like,
do. I do.
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah. So that's how I know. Well, I mean, I guess that it's obvious that they enjoyed a bit of the old wacky tobacco, given the name of the band. But as a kid, hearing that story, I was like, Green Day, drugs, the
do.
things they tell me to say no to,
She's seen
unbelievable.
Crinolin's seen them live 9 times. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
I have never seen them live, which seems insane. I've seen 21 Pilots 5 times, and I've never seen Green Day live. I've seen, yeah, I met them on the Warning tour. Warning is probably my favorite album of theirs. I love Warning. I mean, American Idiot is great, and Dookie is great, but Warning is up there. Yeah. All right. Well, me and Critolin will talk about Green Day and our strong opinions um, on the albums. For example, I think Father of All is one of the worst albums ever created. But then, like Demolition Radio is pretty good. Anyway, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that another day. But I love Green Day. Uh, there we go. We've got a lifetime viewer from Critolin because we're both obsessed with Green Day. I was obsessed with Green Day in third and fourth grade, Mom. I am obsessed with Green Day. I
Still,
remain obsessed with
my
Green Day.
bad. Still.
I love I love how like every 4 months there's like a news article about how they said something about Trump, and it's sort of like Rage Against the Machine, where people are like, "Oh man, when did they become political?" And you're like,
The beginning?
"What do you think punk is?" Admittedly, Green Day is pop punk, but it's still punk. Like it's just that. What do you think it is? And people that get mad at Rage Against the Machine for being political, you're like, what machine do you think they're raging against? It's so
Yeah,
confusing.
because it's like, Zig Heil to the president, gas man. Bombs
Yeah,
away
yeah.
in the
Way is
it's right in there.
party.
The senator from California has the floor. I mean, it's all right in there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, American Idiot is like the most obviously political. Like, I would accept that Dookie is not ultra political. It's more about, you know, being a burnout and whatnot. But but come on. Even like I mean, even the first song from Warning or Minority. I want to be a minority is an interesting one. Macy's Day Parade is an interesting one. They're political. Come on. But Rage Against the Machine is so political, it's hilarious. And I went to that concert, and it was very fun to be at that concert. And the opener was Run the Jewels, which is super big for my age group. Like, I think that current 18-year-olds are not into Run the Jewels. And I think anyone above 30 is not into Run the Jewels. But 20 to 30 right now loves Run the Jewels. And they were the opener, but everyone that went to this Rage Against the Machine concert was like 55. And so they had never heard of them. But I'm just, yeah. But I was just standing up, like doing everything. It was, I mean, it was basically like a concert for me with Run the Jewels. And then everyone stood up and yelled so loud at Rage Against the Machine. And these are all like lawyers and like, you know, general contractors in their polos that are just like, and so you do what they told you. It
Yeah,
was good stuff.
your dad loves Rage Against the Machine, not me. I just always like a pocket full of shells for every song.
I love Pocket Full of Shells. I love. I I have a memory of going shooting with Dan and keeping the bullet casings, the shells, and the shells to the bullets. But I guess shells when he's talking about full bullets. But we went shooting with Uncle Dan, with Dad, and then in some situation, we'll have to ask Dad about it. But I think that we saw a police officer or a game warden or something like that, and I pulled the bullet shells out of my pocket because I was a child, and 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 he said something, and I said, "I got a pocket full of shells," and it made everyone laugh really hard. And I think that's the only part of that song that I knew at that point. Is that he's like, "I got a pocket full of shells." I really liked it. And when you're a kid, a pocket full of shells, like you hadn't put together that it was bullets, you were like, "Ah, he's having a good day at the beach. Why he's so angry? He's like,
Why is he so mad?
why is he so mad? He's at the beach." Uh, okay, so the Democrats.
No, there's just no way to segue. So just go right
Yeah,
into it.
there's no segue. Um, okay, so yeah, the name of this episode is what the Democratic Party needs to restore voter faith. Um, and so I thought a good way to go into this. I know that my mom has a lot of thoughts, so I thought as a springboard for that, I would talk about my experience as a voter and a pre-voter that is sort of leading to the mass psychosis among Democrats occurring in America right now, because it doesn't feel like there's a single cohesive story among the Democrats, and it makes it very hard to root for them, even when you know the bad guy is so clearly bad. There's got to be a superhero story about this where there's like a villain that's truly evil, and then a bunch of good guys that just don't know what the fuck they're doing, and have no single morality, you know, no single idea of what the solution is, and so the villain just wins. Um,
Yeah, they just argue
but
amongst
yeah,
themselves about the morality of making any decision at all.
yeah, yeah. It seems like a good use of time. So uh, I feel like my insertion into like social and political consciousness did happen post Bush. It happened probably around the like just before the Romney election
Okay.
with Obama, and at that point we had some weird experiences with like church friends and stuff like that. And we were very like I was very passionate about gay rights and gay marriage. That was like if I was a single issue voter, I think at the time that was probably like I can't support someone that is homophobic or is anti-gay marriage. That was like it was just such a confusing thing to me. And the Romney election was interesting because we had just moved to Utah, where they liked Romney for a few reasons, including that he was Mormon. Um, and there were little seeds of what we're living in now that I saw in school for that Romney election. And I do wonder what the experience was as an adult for that election, because I have to imagine that the school experience and the actually voting and seeing the debates was different. Because I heard memes of like binders full of women. Um, that was a
For
Romney thing, right?
Romney? Okay. What?
That was Romney, right? I have binders full of women.
I don't think so.
I remember corporations are people too. Let's see, binders full of women quote. Am I mixing somebody up?
Yeah, I can't imagine Mitt Romney having binders full of women. I will say he's one of those prolific writers, like journaler. He writes down everything that he thinks and does to a ridiculous level.
Yep,
So
it's Romney.
why did he say bind? I don't even remember that. Why would he say binders full of women?
Oh well, let's. I mean, if we're gonna have an aside, let's talk about binders full of women.
Just so that I understand,
Uh,
because I have no impression that he is a cheater in any way. I can't remember.
okay, so Mitt Romney's unfortunate phrasing touched off internet hysteria following the October 16th town hall. Oh, this was an October surprise. The moment came when
Oh,
Romney stumbled over a question regarding pay equity, telling the audience how he used binders full of women to recruit female cabinet members as governor of Massachusetts. Governor Romney, pay
oh,
equality for women.
that
Thank
sounds
you.
so
An
stupid.
important topic, one which I learned a great deal about, particularly as I was serving as governor in my state, because I had the chance to pull together a cabinet and all the applicants seemed to be men. And I went to my staff and I said, how come all the people for these jobs are all men? And they said, well, these are the people that have the qualifications. And I said, well, gosh, can't we find some women that are also qualified? And so we took a concerted effort to go out and find women who had backgrounds that could be qualified to become members of our cabinet. I went to a number of women's groups and said, "Can you help us, folks?" And they brought us whole binders full of women. Yeah,
Okay,
I
so no
mean,
wonder I forgot about it.
yeah, it's such a nothing burger now, but at the time, so many memes. So I heard that. I heard corporations are people too, but for the most part, it was like I don't know. I didn't really know what was going on. I just knew that I liked
so,
Obama.
so
I thought he
I
was cool. He played basketball.
I think that statement, binders full of women, and the way that he phrased that for me as a voter at the time really kind of encapsulates how I felt about Mitt Romney, which was that he was out of touch, that he was like almost like a Stepford wife. He was like let's pull out of the box what a politician should look like, who's also a Mormon. Like he was so silly. He was like a robot, out of touch with reality person to me. Um,
Yep.
he got kind of busted for talking about, what did he call it, the 47% or something, the percentage of people that pay no income taxes, and it made it sound like basically half of the population are a bunch of mooches. And we see that concept really kind of rolling into right now as well, that anybody who isn't, I don't know, contributing what some person has deemed as enough is worthy of nothing. And he
Yep.
said, and at the time, we were a military family. Your dad was still in the military, and so we actually fell into that 47% category. We didn't have to pay taxes at the end of the year. We got whatever we did put in, we got back. And so it was very much like, so you think people in the military, for me, right? The people in the military uh, are garbage because we don't we don't have to pay for taxes in the way that the system is lined up. Not that you don't pay for taxes in other ways, but you aren't paying income taxes. And so that was how I was left when it came to Mitt Romney, is that he felt very, very out of touch at the time. But he was a Republican candidate, not a Democratic candidate. So
Yeah. And yet, what I wouldn't have done for him to be the candidate in 2016. Uh, yeah.
agreed.
So
Agreed.
the thing that happened in school that was interesting though was after Obama won, um, I had friends that said that Mitt Romney won the popular vote and that it was the Electoral College that won it for Obama. And I said, "What are you talking about?" And they said, that's what happened." And I said, "Look up, you have a phone, look up the vote totals right now." And we looked them up and we went to like the vote.gov or whatever the official output was. We went to the AP and then Google had their own like thing that pulled up. And every one of them showed that Obama had won the popular vote by the identical number of votes. And he was like, wow, they're messing with the internet. Like they're trying to cover this up. And I was like, what are you talking about?
So
And
you're right.
that was early.
You're right, because I remember, I think the first time, so this is even before Donald Trump as a candidate, he started the idea of the vote has been stolen during the Mitt Romney election, right? It hadn't
Yep.
been stolen, but he was already trying out this great tagline, this great pop propaganda, you know, line of thought with the election has been stolen for Mitt
Yep.
Romney. And Romney was like, "What are you talking about?" Right? But he, I read Mitt Romney's book, and he even said, like, I had to go and talk to Trump, and I guess he was he was kind of fun to talk to, but also he was a ridiculous person, and I didn't understand why I had to get his endorsement or bow down to him when he was such a unserious person. So even Mitt Romney felt that before Trump was ever a candidate, which is
Yep.
fascinating in its own special way.
And I mean, it was working. There were, it became a topic that I couldn't talk to my friends about in Utah, where they were convinced, interestingly, they were not convinced that that the election was stolen. They were convinced that it was an electoral college problem, which, I mean, it feels like we don't talk about the electoral college anymore, but um, that it's only negatively affected Democrats in the, in recent memory, and uh, they were convinced that it was a legitimate win that was a problem of the electoral college, um, which would come back to bite them. Um, so yeah, that was just a strange start to this whole thing. Was that there was a difference in objective truth between me and friends pre-Trump, and who would have known uh, how much that would be amplified in the coming
Yes,
years.
it
So
snowballed.
then, the next election, and the one where I think that we'll be talking on the same points, was the 2016 election. That was my first election. Lucky me. Um, I was I was 18 for the primaries, so I voted in the primary in Washington State because I had a driver's license in Washington State, but I was going to college in Massachusetts. Um, and people were like super excited in late 2015, in like through the beginning of 2016. I went to a Bernie Sanders rally as a date with a girl. Um,
Fun.
uh, I it, it it was kind of fun. Well, I should say I thought it was a date, um, because I asked her as a date, and then on the day of, she invited three of her male friends, and I said, "Okay." But then we went to a Chinese place, and they all spoke Chinese, and it was great. Um, but we do go on a date. Um, and the Bernie rally was just like unreal energy. Felt like he was, speaking directly to the things that we cared about. We were talking about, universal health care and um, educational quality, and all of these things that seem so much further away now than they did in 2016. And we were talking about building on the legacy of Obama and becoming more of a progressive state and following more of the like Nordic European country model of how to run a successful country. And it was so exciting. Um, and then primaries began, and the narrative started to shift because it was Bernie Hillary pretty early, I think, into that primary, and it seemed like Bernie had a real head of steam. You know, it seemed like it was really heating up, and it was like a race. I mean, it's not like Bernie was winning every state, but Bernie won Washington, um, and he had a little bit of a lead when the conversation shifted to it's not about winning the number of delegates from the primaries. Bernie needs to win enough delegates to overwhelm the super delegates.
Yes.
And this was the first crisis of democracy. I'm, I'm, I'm 18, and this was the first crisis of democracy where I was like, wait, what? what how is it not just the primary and the caucus system? How is it not just we're voting for this?
Yeah,
You're saying that there are bought and sold like political actors that are unbeholden to vote. What is the point of us voting at all then?
right.
And it's like we weren't told about it until it became a factor. It felt, I know this isn't true, but as a voter in the moment, it felt like um, they had changed the rules in the middle of us voting. Like that the primaries had happened, and the idea was if we win the most primaries, if we win the most seats from these primaries, then Bernie will be the Democratic candidate. And then midway through, it was sorry. You don't need to win more than half of the delegates. You need to win. I don't remember if it was like three quarters of them,
Yeah,
and the
so
goalposts moved because it seemed like because of the success of Bernie, and that was the experience as a voter in that moment.
I will also say that is the first primary I ever voted in as well, and it was the only one I ever voted in. And it is because a lot of people did kind of lose faith in the primary process once they finally understood what it was really about, right? So you're choosing the Democratic Party's candidate, and they take our opinion into account if they feel like it. Is ultimately what it's all about. So there's I think about 400. I'm sorry, 4,696 delegates that are broken out by however they would normally break out a delegate. And then there are of those 747 of them are super delegates. And how you become a super delegate is you might be the governor, you might be a senator or a congressperson, or in the state legislature even, or you might be the chairman or the deputy chairman of the Democratic Party in your state. So you're somebody like that. That's how you become a super delegate, and you are not beholden to how the votes shake out in your state or your district. You are completely independent, and so the candidates sometimes also have to go and woo these super delegates directly to try to get those votes. And I don't know, Bernie Sanders didn't really
Mm-hmm.
seem like that kind of a guy. Like he didn't play the game that way. And also, how was he going to? Right? Hillary Clinton was part of the political machine for a long time. And this is also a huge problem in my mind with regard to the Democratic Party is, you kind of earn your stripes through the Democratic Party. If you've been here so long, you've got seniority, you've got priority. And I don't know why you're foggy.
I'm blurry for some reason.
Like, uh, you know, if you've earned your spot in seniority, you think you deserve whatever comes next, even if that is it's now your turn to be president, regardless if that's what's right for the country. You've earned it with regards to the party, and so it
Mm-hmm.
does leave a lot of people disillusioned with the Democratic Party that they aren't listening to the people.
Well, yeah, and it keeps happening because the so uh, okay, now we're challenging my memory here. But something else that I think occurred was that there were other people running. There was like Elizabeth Warren, but there were also like more traditional neoliberal Democrats that were running, and they started dropping out of the
I think
2016.
I think we're in 2020 when we're talking about that because it really.
No. I think this happened in 2016 as well.
Oh, okay.
Um, and uh, well, here, let's see.
Yeah, because
Um,
to me that was the 2020 vibe. Like I feel like the Bernie and I mean, there's probably
I
also
think it
somebody
happened to
else.
Bernie twice.
Yeah,
Uh,
it did happen to Bernie twice. But I
Democratic,
think that go ahead. The
the
2016 one,
other.
it feels like it was the two candidates pretty early on, but I'm sure there was somebody else
Uh,
mixed in there.
okay, this is going to take me a second to
That's okay.
figure out. Um,
I mean, yeah, I think by the time it was, debating for the primaries and stuff like, debating through the process, we were down to two pretty early. But I'm sure that there were some others in there. It wasn't like the 2020 election where we had like 20 plus candidates that were running. I mean, it was a lot.
okay, yeah, maybe I am wrong. I really thought that. Oh, okay. No, I think I'm just wrong. Why did I think this?
Right. I mean,
Uh,
and let's be real, even now, how many years later, Bernie is still a challenge to what the Democratic Party thinks it is, right? He's more progressive. I mean, he calls himself a democratic socialist, so he isn't even a traditional Democrat. He just caucuses with them. So, he is a challenge to the way that they've always done things. Even now, and he's a like 83 years old. So
yeah. Um, so, okay, I've definitely lost the plot on this, but um, the narrative that I remember in 2016 was that Hillary had earned this. That there were, uh, it seemed like along the way, as you were rooting for and pushing Bernie forwards, the Democratic establishment, like the current senators, the congressmen, the party elites and whatnot, kept endorsing Hillary, and the narrative was like that this was her time, that she deserved it now,
yep.
and this is like a weirdly pervasive narrative
Yes.
throughout the years of the Democratic Party, as recently as post-Trump election. Um, there was that is it the head of the Appropriations Committee for the Democrats? Um, was it National Security? I don't know, but Pelosi pushed forward as the head of the Democratic primary, pushed forward just this incredibly old bag of bones Democrat that had a terminal diagnosis
Oh,
for an important position. I think it was the Appropriations Committee.
I did read
Um,
about that today. I cannot remember his name.
yeah, but there was a younger candidate that had some like political fervor behind him. And what was the narrative from Nancy Pelosi? It was he had earned his spot. He needed his time on the Appropriations Committee, and it's so confusing because the Democrats are supposed to be all about the people. Right now, we're like that. The entire last election was run on the importance of democracy, and yet we're acting here as though these committees are like badges or plaques for some congressman's fireplace room. This is instead of a position which has impacts on the country, if it
Yes.
is appropriations committee, which we should find out. But uh, whatever committee it is, it certainly has impact on the lived experience of Americans that voted, and it should not have anything to do with the somebody's like time put into being in Congress is, or their age, or the fact that they're dying. It should have to do with what creates the best outcomes for Americans. That's what we're
Yeah.
voting for.
Yeah.
Um, it was AOC, wasn't it? I don't remember the guy's name, but I'm pretty sure she was the one who lost out to him. Oh yeah.
I believe you're right.
Um,
I believe you're right. Because there were three different
AOC.
there were three different congressmen that have died that were Democrats in this session that we are currently in, which is kind of crazy. Two of them had cancer. I can't remember what the third person died from, but yeah, this idea that seniority and earning your spot, I agree with you 100%, is exceptionally pervasive and does not serve the American people, and it does make like Democrats don't like it. Nobody likes it. It's terrible. We definitely have an age problem in general uh, with our Congress people. We saw 2 years ago Feinstein acting a fool, arguing with elementary school students and just being generally confused about everything. But because she was so senior and she had done a lot of things that were good in the past, nobody was going to tell her that she needed to retire. Nobody was going to tell her that she's not up to the task of governance anymore. We're just going to let her decide when she wants to bow out, and her body decided for her, and it's just one thing after another, these one example after another of how they are doing it wrong. Did you find out who it was?
Yeah, it was Gary Connolly, and it was the House Oversight Committee. Um, and Pelosi endorsed Gary Connolly. He, uh, I think he won in January. Um, then he announced he would not run for reelection in April, and then died in May. Um, and so 4 months, and it was AOC that that was challenging, and even I'm like annoyed with the AI overview that I just got uh,
I
on
hate
this
AI overview.
because I was asking a leading question of Google, right? I was like, I looked up like Pelosi AOC House Committee kept off, and the AI overview was like, no, AOC was not kept off. She lost a vote on the House floor in a challenge for the committee, and it's like, well, this is how the Democrats work, right? Pelosi
Yeah.
said who it would be, and everyone says get in line. And fair enough here. They didn't really get that in line. It was like 130 to 80 for for the votes for this House Oversight Committee, and it was all wrapped around this narrative of him having earned his stripes, and he died 4 months later, right? This is an important position. They had to refill it. It was empty for some period of time. Presumably that has some effect. I assume these committees do something, because let me tell you, I run a company. If somebody died and I had to replace their position for 3 weeks, that would affect the work for those 3 weeks, and I'm not running the country. So let's pick someone who's alive. It's this. Yeah, it was the same thing with that. Who was the woman that died?
Feinstein.
That Feinstein. Yeah. In California.
Yeah.
Um, and people were talking about it so early, and she was so clearly like
Not
her
well.
mind was not there. She was so clearly not well. Not Biden not well, by the way. This is not. It's not even the same zip code. Biden also really not well, but she
But more
was
well
on
than she
death's
was.
door. Oh my gosh, so much more well than she was. Um, and, and it's just there's something broken in this mentality for the Democrats. There's something broken there. There's something broken in the Biden era, and the same thing happened again. Now,
Yep.
in the Biden era, you're right. There was the weird situation where there was a pretty wide array
Let me,
of people that were running,
so
and
let me talk about it. Let me talk about it. So yeah,
you hit it. Yeah.
so for the primaries in 2020, yeah, there were like 20 plus people that started off. In fact, 20 of them made it to the first debate. So that debate stage was absolutely nuts. There were so many people on that first debate stage. But by the time we made it to Super Tuesday, and there were still quite a few, like Pete Buttigieg was on fire at that point. He was growing momentum. Biden was winning. I'm not going to lie and tell you that he didn't have the lead at that point, because he did. But Buttigieg was kind of making a run. Elizabeth Warren was also doing pretty well. Um, and Bernie Sanders always does decently, so he was still, there. We got those four top people in the race, and there were still some other people as well. And
Well, Joe Biden had like only won North Carolina, right? At the
I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know the exact what he had won, but I know that he was generally doing quite well. And now
Yep.
Super Tuesday, 14 states are all having their primaries at once. That's why that's the big deal. It's a whole bunch of states at once. And a lot of people feel like, okay, it's going to be decided here on Super Tuesday. So right before Super Tuesday, like within 3 days, three people drop out right beforehand. And one of those was Pete Buttigieg. And it was like, why would you not wait until after Super Tuesday and just see how it shakes out? And then right after Super Tuesday, like the next day, Elizabeth Warren bows out. So now you've got those two big names who were doing decently well dropping out. And there's no way for me to not look at it and think, okay, the DNC talked to them and promised them something. They said, we need to do this for unity. Of course, that's what they said in all of their speeches. We need to unite together, I guess behind Biden, right? Because it took Bernie Sanders another month or so before he finally bowed out, and Biden was the nominee at that point. But even in Bernie's speech, he was like, don't vote for me. We don't want to divide anything. We stay together. We're together. We're all going to put our efforts behind Biden. And
Yep.
it's like you appreciate the thought, but the primaries are where our voices get heard on who it is that we want to see. So it was really, really very frustrating. So what are we looking at here?
Okay, so here, this can sort of show the weirdness of Super Tuesday. So February 29th, what you see right there, that is, I believe that's Super Tuesday. Um, I think that
Super
uh,
Tuesday was on the 3rd of March.
it was on the third. Oh, yes. Okay, so these four are the ones that occur before Super Tuesday. And what had happened? Uh, Pete Buttigieg wins the Iowa caucuses despite receiving fewer votes than Bernie Sanders. Caucuses are weird, um, but
He
Pistol
must have got
Pete
some super
wins
delegates.
down there. Uh, then New Hampshire won by Bernie Sanders, very closely contested by Pete Buttigieg. Note here, both Pete and Bernie individually triple Joe Biden's vote count for New Hampshire. This was also, I think, the point where Elizabeth Warren was expected to do relatively well in New Hampshire and did not do that well. Amy Klobuchar did better. Um, but
She did better than
that
Biden.
she, yeah, Elizabeth Warren did do better than Biden. Elizabeth Warren did better than Biden in Iowa as well. Uh, Nevada, Bernie Sanders absolutely cleans up. This is the first place where Pete and Joe are in the same sort of area. Um, and then South Carolina is a pretty resounding win um, for Biden, which Biden always does well in the Carolinas. So those are the four events that occur pre Super Tuesday. And if you were to just look at this box here, you would say, yeah, there are five solid contenders. And it really seems like it's probably between Bernie and Pete, with a close third being Joe Biden. And Amy and Elizabeth just can't quite get off the ground here. And then comes the gray. And by the way, this is only showing candidates that stayed in up through Iowa, I believe. But then we see this grays out here, where Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar, who were doing pretty well,
Yeah.
drop out, despite the fact that they have had as significant, like Pete has had a win and an almost win, where he got the same number of delegates as Bernie. And Amy, I mean, 20% of the vote share in one of these states, it's pretty solid. But they all drop out pre Super Tuesday. The narrative that I uh, experienced on this point was that there were essentially two progressive candidates, Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, of which Bernie Sanders is more progressive, but still two progressive candidates. And then there was a wide swath of neoliberal, you know, uh, big D Democrat candidates. And that was Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, Amy Klobuchar. And then Tulsi Gabbard was over there just, sucking down cigarettes and getting ready to join Trump's cabinet. Um, Tulsi Gabbard's her own thing. So yeah, this this is the this is the situation, and then suddenly they all drop off, and of course it was going to look like they were trying to prop up Joe Biden. I mean, Pete was really giving up what looked like an equally solid chance of winning as Joe Biden, if not a better chance at winning than Joe Biden. Um,
But he
and
was
the
so
narrative
young,
was
right?
he
He
was
was
so
so
young,
young,
he's so gay, and
but he was doing
and that was
great.
going to be a problem. That was going to be a problem in the general election, and um, their feeling was that the normal Democrats needed to congeal around one candidate, and Joe Biden deserved it. You know, Joe had run so many times; he had such a storied track record um, as a Democrat. He was the vice president when his son died. He had gone through tragedy. He has great narrative around him. He does very well with black voters, and so let's pull back and let Bernie and Joe fight it out, and that'll be the situation. And look, I mean, fair enough to them. Like, if you subtract the other like normal Democrats, then yeah, Joe does win, you know? And there is something about momentum here where when you're successful, you're more likely to continue to be successful. It was the same thing where I think the narrative with the superdelegates collapsed Bernie Sanders' chance of winning some of those late primaries because it didn't
Yep.
feel like it was possible anymore. So why am I going to take time off work to to vote in the primary where there's no chance? So as soon as these primaries really start becoming lopsided, especially post Super Tuesday, it really like it starts falling off the hill, and Bernie
Right.
Sanders drops off after April 7th
So we get
because of
Joe Biden,
that
right?
momentum.
And people generally like Joe Biden. He ended up being way more progressive than I thought he was going to be. It felt like he knew his time was limited and he really tried to jam stuff in while he could. But we all watched him decline. We all saw that last debate that he was in, and I mean, he looked like the crypt keeper. It was just, yeah. I know people get old, as Hunter Biden likes to say. If you guys have watched his interview, he's like, yeah, we watched him get old. Yeah, we watch every president get old, but it felt different with Biden. I think we could all see his lapses. We could see him. I mean, the stumbling. I don't have a problem with stumbling, but he did sometimes seem confused. He did repeat himself at points where it didn't necessarily make sense to do so. It was like he was just trying to memorize his lines and spit them out wherever they would fit. And he we got lucky in that he had his debate early, but not early enough because we didn't have a proper primary. And so many, Democrats or just liberally minded people felt cheated out of a primary because, what Kamala ended up doing was she went and spoke to the delegates directly. Nancy Pelosi said, "Do you endorse Kamala?" She says, "Yes." She went and did the work. She went and talked to all of the delegates and got their vote. And so the people again were not their opinions weren't taken into account necessarily. And to be fair, I think Kamala is a great candidate. It's just we didn't it, they didn't do it right. They don't have
I don't
to.
think Kamala's a
I
great candidate,
well,
but
I don't think she was a bad candidate. I think given time
I think she was a fine
she
candidate.
could have been great. I do think she was qualified. I will say that. But
Yeah, I think she's qualified. I just remember her from the 2020 primaries and watching that 20-person primary and just being like, I don't like Kamala. And the whole vibe was so pandery, and there's something that did not work on stage,
I
and
agree.
it was just
I
it didn't
agree.
work.
I do think that's a particular difficulty for women is, to come off, intelligent and engaging, but in a non-threatening way. It's such a tightrope walk that is impossible. But
Eh,
it
be
does
threatening.
illustrate
Uh,
another big problem that the Democratic Party has, and that is authenticity. She didn't come off as authentic, right?
yeah,
For for some reason, Trump does. He comes off as authentically insane, and AOC comes off as authentic, whether you like her or not. Independents might like Trump and also like AOC and also like Mum Donnie, right? It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with your political ideology. It's, do I believe you? Are you an authentic person? And so that's a big
mhm.
problem the Democratic Party has, and is not catching up with the times with what people need to hear. And they need to believe you.
They need to believe you, and they need to just get rid of this, like that they're the party of anti-corruption, but they're not. That we're for democracy, but we're not. It's frustrating, and it's frustrating because I'm of two minds with this. There's the mind that says we can't win against Republicans unless we play dirty, and then there's the mind of stop playing dirty against your own base, and it's difficult to find the balance between those two
Yeah.
because like I think that gerrymandering is a form of elections fraud. It's not illegal, but it's a form of elections fraud. And yet I sort of like Gavin Newsom for looking at this Texas situation and saying, "Look, we're going to fight fire with fire. If you guys do that, we're going to make California so blue it's ridiculous." Which I mean, frankly, they should be doing that because of Utah. Utah's map is ridiculous. Um, Oh, did you see the age of consent thing in Utah?
I'm not sure. I might have saw. Yes, I
That
did. I did see it. I did see it. That's a side topic. I did see it.
gotta love the our old state. Um, it's
I
so yeah, I'm of two minds with it, but so you have to gerrymander, but you also have to, when you get in power, start putting up guardrails because you won't be in power forever. And we just have no interest in our own guardrails, right? Nancy Pelosi was against the stock trading, embargo on congressmen and senators. Nancy Pelosi, Democrat, the leader of the Democrats.
right.
Fuck you. I like
But
the
you would think, with as much hate as the Republican Party has for Nancy Pelosi, that that would get the rest of them on board. But it did no such thing. It got them to say, I like having money." That's what they said. "I like being rich. Why would I want to give that up?" I mean, they said it like in plain language, and it was like so gross. But I do want to say, let me go back to what you're talking about with gerrymandering, because I agree with you. I don't like it. But what I do like it for is for the idea that we might get real legislation to correct the problem, right? Like, if that gerrymandering is even a thing. If they get mad enough at Democrats for playing the same game, then the Republicans will try to write laws so that we can't gerrymander. And ultimately, it would affect them as well. Just like Trump suddenly has immunity, but he's trying to go after Obama for doing Obama's job. And you're like, no, the law that you made the Supreme Court pass to give you a pass also gives Obama a pass. So it's, that's what
yeah,
I look
I
forward
don't have that
to.
much faith.
Well, I'm not sure I have faith or not faith, but it does seem like sometimes that's the push they need, is like, you're doing something that's clearly wrong, but you won't see it unless I do it. It's
Yeah,
the mirror. It's just like people watching the Barbie movie and suddenly are so upset with how Ken is treated. It's like, we just did a role reversal because for some reason he won't see it the other way. Some people won't see it the other way. It's like, I feel so
hmm
bad for Ken. It's like, Ken is Barbie. It's the thing.
the we don't want to go down the line of dissecting Barbie. Um,
I thought that was a
it's
piece of art, but that's just me.
I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved it because of people's ability to project their own shit onto it. Um, it was it was it was unreal. Um, but uh, I don't know because I think at this point the Republicans can be so brazen. I mean, they're brazen with like disaster relief, right? Well, who did you vote for last time? That'll determine whether or not you get disaster relief, right? Joe Biden's whole thing was, I'm president for all the people, and guess what? Red states got all the fucking money under Biden because red states need it. Because guess what? Red states are just fucking sucking the teat of blue states, and it has been true for decades. The blue
Yes.
states make the money for this country, and yet, you know, tell that to a Republican.
Uh,
And
yeah, he
so,
said something. What did you say? He said
which means that the red states need help, you know, and that's
he did.
fine. I like Joe Biden, president for America, but then now that they're totally transparent about the rules are different, blue versus red, and I think that if there was a policy that somebody just came in and said, if there was uh, you know a, a policy about gerrymandering, they would find a way to make it specific to Democrats,
Well, I mean, they
and
might
so
try. They might try.
and there are state like like state supreme courts turned off like New York had a electoral map that was denied because it was unfair. I'm sorry, I've got to turn off my camera and my mic because I have to go shush my dog
Okay,
because
that's
somebody
okay.
just came home
I
and
got stuff to
I'm
say
less
while you do
willing.
that. I wanted to say, with regard to, you were talking about how Trump threatened to take away aid based on who you voted for. He also, at one point, I think actually put it out to the public that depending on whether or not you did business with companies from Israel would also determine whether you got FEMA aid. So you needed to be pro Israel in such a way that you're doing business with Israel on a state level in order to get federal FEMA emergency aid. And it was, there was pushback on that. So we ended up having to pull that back because it's ludicrous. The way that we are so intertwined with Israel is beyond bonkers and gross. That I don't even know how that ever became part of the picture to this level, to this level. And you have Democrats doing the same thing, right? Democrats who are pandering to Israel constantly or won't say, no, we won't give aid in the form of weapons, even if we're just talking about offensive weapons, even if we have to get that specific with what type of weapons we're talking about, they still won't say that they won't support that. It's so weird how afraid of Israel America is where politics are concerned. It's so weird.
I'm back. I cannot believe you got into Israel Palestine without me.
That's Palestine, only Israel, but that was because of the FEMA aid. Because at one point Trump was going to deny FEMA aid to states that didn't do business with Israel. I mean,
yeah,
so weird. Beyond.
Yeah, that was a strange.
Have you heard of David Hogg? Hogg.
Sorry. Just to add to your point, which I'm not even sure I want to do, but I will. I'll give you the information, even if I don't agree with everything. There was a grant that my company was going after, and there's a new policy that's come down from the Fed, which is if you are contracting with a company in Israel and you end that contract, then you need permission from the federal government to end the contract. And so one of my company's biggest competitors is a grant writing company in Israel. And if another company, or if specifically cities, like it's got to be municipalities or states, are working with that company, they're no longer allowed to end the contract with them without permission, which at first we were like, do we need to start an LLC in Israel just so that we have a knife to the throat of our clients so that they can't end contracts with us? And we answered that question, no. But now, like when we pitch people, we're like, also, if you work with our competitors, you have to ask Trump to end your contract. You can just end ours if we're bad, right? Like they don't have to do anything and they can keep billing you. We have to actually do our job. So maybe stick with us. And that has worked. So yeah, there are some super strange policies around there. I don't know if I agree with the narrative that people not wanting to fund weapons to Israel has to do with being afraid of Israel, but
it's weird that they won't say anything out loud against Israel. Some Democrats won't, or even when the Mamdani debates, the number of times that the candidates were asked about Israel and everybody else said something, pro-Israel was weird. It was weird because you were talking.
It's New York City, Mom. It's the largest Jewish population outside of Israel.
I get that. But they were talking about Netanyahu specifically at some points. And it was like, there was no way for it not to come off as weird. The level of,
no one wants to lose Brooklyn. No one wants to lose Brooklyn. Okay. This is purely like a mayor's opinion or policy on Israel has fucking nothing to do with Israel itself. It only has to do with the fact that we have a huge population of people that care about Israel specifically, that are Israeli or have Israeli citizenship or are Jewish and believe in the creation of a Jewish state and whatnot. And so they have to say it. It doesn't affect any policy there. But in New York, it makes the most sense for them to be afraid of talking shit about Israel because there's no upside. What are they going to do? They're going to start restricting aid to Israel. They're the mayor of a city. It's like
I feel like the questions were inappropriate to begin with, but I agree with that. I understand.
I completely agree that the questions were inappropriate, honestly, I think that they did Mamdani a favor because he is affiliated with a party in this city that has, you know, hosted things that seemed like celebrations of October 7th and shit like that. And so they gave Mamdani an opportunity to make his opinion very, very clear and be like, yes, I think October 7th was a tragedy and a massacre and a terrorist attack. I think Hamas are terrorists. I also think that what Israel is doing in Gaza is indefensible. Like, that is much clearer than you're affiliated with a party that hands out flyers of people wearing the fucking Hamas headband. That is not, those are such different vibes. So they kind of gave Mamdani an opportunity to clarify where he is on the subject. So even though it was inappropriate, I think it ended up helping Mamdani.
Oh, I do too. I do too. Have you heard of David Hogg? Hogg.
Nope.
He so he was the elected vice chair of the DNC. He's a younger guy, and I do
Is
believe
this
that he has.
recent?
This is recent. I do believe he has recently stepped down as well, because uh, since he was the vice chair, so the actual chair started to challenge basically David Hogg's existence in the DNC and wanted to have him uh, his position put up for a vote again because David Hogg has been instrumental in wanting to primary Democratic incumbents in safe seats to get fresh blood, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we're back to seniority and people earning their spots and all of that stuff, right? So the idea that this guy wants to come in and he wants to change how the DNC does things is unacceptable. How dare you go after incumbent seats that we already have that we have to do no work for and try to get somebody like Feinstein. Of course, she's not there anymore, but she should have been primaried a long time ago. Or Pelosi, right? Does Pelosi still need to be there? No. Get out of the way. Yes, she's still a competent person, but
Oh, David Hogg is he's the guy from the shooting, right?
what?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Shooting.
He's
Oh, it was a Parkland.
uh Stoneman Douglas. He was a student survivor of the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting, uh, and he led high-profile protests. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know all that about him. I just know.
and he's the vice chair
Mm-hmm. Well, I
of
think
the
he might have stepped
DNC.
down. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. He stepped down on June 11th. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So this is just a further indication of the problem with the Democratic Party, right? We get some fresh blood in, somebody who sees the direction that things need to go in, and they push back against him to the point where he's like, I'm not doing this." You know what I mean? My talents can be used elsewhere, and I'm sure he's still going to work to get new people into some of these spots where Democrats are largely guaranteed to win. Get somebody different in there, somebody who's going to do the job of the people and not just sit on their hands forever and ever and ever.
Mm-hmm.
Are you reading? Is that what you're doing?
I am. Well, because there was also you just reminded me of um, Hillary Clinton's like top campaign official after the primary, like assumed. I think that she assumed office as the vice chair or the chair of the DNC, and now I'm trying to find that. Um,
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just know that there are several organizations that are trying to. Some of them are just trying to get, unchallenged seats to get anybody to run as a Democrat to give people options, even in places where you think they might not win. They're trying to just put some support behind them. But then you've got people that are, like David Hogg, who is going after, you know, safe seats and trying to get new blood in so that we can really kind of reshape the Democratic Party because what they're doing isn't working. It's not working. If they
oh,
have,
here, this is what it is. Sorry. Um, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Uh, Debbie Wasserman Schultz's resignation. Debbie Wasserman Schultz resigned as DNC chair during the 2016 Democratic National Convention due to controversies surrounding leaked emails that showed the DNC favoritism towards Clinton. She then immediately joined the Clinton campaign as a senior advisor.
yep, yeah,
Stinky.
yeah. So it's all part of the same thing. This Everybody has earned their spots. This is the way that the DNC runs. This is what you have to do to move ahead through it instead of doing the will of the people. And listen, I know last
Hmm.
week I said burn the DNC down. I don't really think that. I think there's enough to work with to correct it and to get it to update its tactics, right? You can't be operating with like 1985 ideas of how to get information out, in 2025. I think one of the reasons, I think if you go back in time to Richard Nixon not doing well in one of his elections, had to do with the new idea of TV, right? Oh,
Yeah.
I have to be able to connect with people through the television set. I need to wear makeup. Ew, gross. I'm a man. I'm not going to wear makeup, even though I'm going to look better and not like a ghost on TV if I put some on. All of these, at the time, TV was the new thing, and now we are still stuck in the DNC thinking TV is the way to connect with people when it's not, right? When they start making TikToks, which they need to make TikToks, they need to be on every social media platform, but they need to do it in an authentic manner, and they don't know how to because they're using an old playbook with how to connect with people, which doesn't work. Doesn't work, you know. So they need young
So
blood
what
to
would you
teach.
do?
What would I do?
So you think go younger and go more progressive, because that really is the divide. Like the divide,
Um,
the divide feels crazy in New York City because the divide was posed as Andrew Cuomo and Zoran Mamdani, and to some people that felt like a choice, and it was like, I'm sorry, okay, I think Andrew Cuomo was a okay governor, but it like how can our solution to the Democratic primary or to the Democratic like party's problems be, let's just invite back in that sexual harassment guy, the corrupt dude that
Ridiculous.
threatened his accusers and just really could not see what era he was living in, and then defended his harassment by calling himself Italian. I mean, he is Italian, but he said that being Italian was the reason. And then as he's running out, he renames a bridge that is named after a Native American tribe after his dad. What? Again, why? How is that the choice? And and it was a choice to some people, and because they thought that Zoran was a socialist, which he is, and that and that's still a dirty word to Democrats. And I was like, I thought that we litigated this during Burning. I thought we litigated what a democratic socialist is and what a socialist is back then. He's not a communist. Frankly, I don't know if I'd have that much of a problem if he was, but he's not. And like, uh,
He's not. He's not.
and still people think it's the exact same thing, and
But
they think that
that's
he's
a
aligned with
failure.
Russia, and you're like,
It's a failure of messaging, right? We're not getting the information out. You want people that listen. People are chronically online. I'm chronically online. Uh, TikToks, Instagram, Reels, Shorts on YouTube. They all come in nice, digestible, 1 to 3 minute blobs. So you need to over and over and over again firm a message in that is short and digestible over and over. And you need to teach people stuff, right? Because people seem to know
which
nothing.
Zoran did great. Zoran did that very well.
Yeah,
He was so
but
good at that.
they have to keep doing it. Let me tell you. Here's the thing, and you need to keep. First of all, you need to know what your message is. What is your pinnacle thing? You don't have to try to solve all of the problems of the world at once. You need to choose a direction. To me, the obvious one is preserving our Constitution and democracy. That is it. I would love to give a shit about gay people and trans people and every other micro type of person out there and immigrants. I do care about immigrants, but only on a certain level, right? I don't want them and I don't want them being illegally deported or being sent to prisons in other countries or being sent to alligator Alcatraz. I don't want any of that stuff to happen. But I don't object to just general normal deportation. You know what I mean? Like you can't solve everything at once. You have to, what does your dad like to say? The alligator closest to the boat. The alligator closest to the boat is democracy as a whole. So I need somebody
I
to
agree on that.
choose the message and run down the middle of it. It's like, because once we do this, we can do all of these other things. But I can't get sidetracked with these small things that will be lost regardless if we don't take care of this big, big problem, which is democracy.
So I agree with you that the alligator closest to the boat is democracy. I don't agree with you that you can get people to see that. I think that enough people in this country feel like whatever the system is, it isn't working. And they don't have, despite the fact that it feels like the entire American education system was just deep throating the founding fathers and being like, they came up with democracy and it's, it fixed everything. And then we fixed the world after we fixed ourselves. There's a little civil war, but otherwise we fixed ourselves and then we fixed the world and we spread democracy to the free world. And everyone realized that power derived from the people was the greatest, and that representation was necessary, and all that. That's like that's all of history in American classes, and yet I do not think that you can get most people to believe democracy is solvable or is even worth preserving. And that is what I think the issue was. The whole last campaign was around democracy. And I agree that it's the alligator closest to the boat. You and I agree on that. I cannot believe, even among the people that agree with me, how much they think Israel Palestine is the thing that people should run on. And I'm like, it's not even here. It's like it's not,
It's not even
it's
here.
horrible, and it's awful to see on TikTok,
Yeah.
and things should be done about it. That said, that cannot be what you run on. What I think the issue is that things were not working under Obama, and things were not working under Biden. Even if they were improving, people weren't seeing that. And it, like
Because
there were elements of Trump's
they weren't
narrative.
marketing it. They weren't telling what they were doing that was good, right? You're expecting the news to somehow make it interesting for people and understandable, and they didn't. You need to talk to people in small, understandable blurbs, you know?
What could they have said, right? That people hate it when you say the economy is doing well, and people hate it when the economy is doing poorly, right? They hate when you say the stock market is up, but if the stock market's down, they'll use it to attack you. You say the jobs numbers are up, and yet I can't find a fucking job, right? That you say that the GDP is going up, and yet every industry has left my town, and there's an opioid epidemic occurring here, right? That the messaging needs to match the experience of people, and
Sure.
so uh, if those changes happen, they need to be felt in some way that is actually positively marketable. And uh, the at least a campaign needs to be about, I think, housing and prices. Um, but
I do as
the
well.
Democrats are just too beholden to reality. And so the Democrats, when you talk about inflate, right? Republicans will say, we're going to bring prices down, right? And the Democrats will say, if we bring prices down, that is going to be awful for the economy, because that's how inflation works. It doesn't come down. It comes down to inflation comes down, but prices do not. Prices just have a different rate of increase. And you want it at a very specific level, which is about 2 to 3%. Um, but oh my gosh, already it's become undigestible, right? Already it's like, oh my God, wait, so I still have to pay $14 for a cheeseburger, you know? And you're like, yeah, you do. And your pay needs to increase, right?
Yeah.
That's what needs to actually occur, is that the enrichment of the country needs to be more evenly spread. And you need rich people getting less rich, and you need poor people getting more rich. We need to Robin Hood this whole economy.
It, it
But
it's
it's
fascinating.
already become too complicated. Republicans will just say, we'll bring prices down, and they'll lie. They're lying. But
They are
they'll
lying.
just say it.
No, they are lying. They are. They don't want to. Some people would prefer a comfortable lie or even a salacious lie over the boring truth or the uncomfortable truth.
Yep.
Yeah, it's true. I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you. I do find it interesting. I think that Democrats and Republicans both see the same thing, right? They both see the same problem of you've got these uber rich companies and people that they are hoarding wealth, um, and you know people are feeling it. Everybody's feeling it except for those people that feels like they're just taking it, taking and taking. The problem is that, and this is like Epstein connected, right? They'll think, okay, there's this big cabal of these rich people that are doing all of these terrible things to, girls and everybody. They're the ones that are ruining everything. But but they also don't want to raise the minimum wage because that's going to cut into these guys' profits. And for some reason, they think that's going to cut into their profits, or it's going to also cause inflation. It's like, but also they're fine with tariffs cutting into their profits. But you know what I mean? It's like, how do you gotta give
It
a
doesn't make
solution that's
sense.
simple and makes sense for the simple problems that everybody has. I agree with you, but it's got to be
Yeah.
simple and understandable, and it has to be marketed. They do not market in the Democratic Party in any kind of accessible way. It is okay to use stupid rhymes and stupid slogans that are easy to remember. The powerhouse is the what is it? The mitochondria is the
The
powerhouse.
mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means, but yet I've heard that a million times, right? So give people something
Ellie
memorable.
will talk to you about that for 5 hours. Because that's so much of what Ellie is working on has to do with that. Yeah. So I think next time we have to come up with solutions, but I think we've
Solutions
gotta
or
wrap this one
slogans?
up. I'm down for slogans too. Um, but yeah, there's just something rotten, and I don't think that the choice is just get more radical or go back to trying to be like '90s Democrats. Like
No.
we're not. I mean, I would love to bring back the union, um, which
What do
feels
you mean?
crazy to say as a CEO. I, I would love for us to be the party of unions, which
Oh,
is what Joe Biden wanted us to be.
yeah.
Um, I would love to re-empower unions and build unions back up and have more industries be unionized. But while that's not the case, I just don't think that there's this binary choice of progressives and neoliberals. Um, but I don't know what the solution is. Can we play time guesser and then hop off?
I don't know what that is, but sure, we can play time guesser.
Sorry, I'm exhausted
It's
and
4:20. Well,
stressed.
we did run a little long. I
It's
don't know if we're trying
5:20.
to. I don't know if we're trying to do a hard hour these days. It seems like we're just rolling right along. But
Yeah, I've just got to take care of the dog, and and he's just being a little fuck.
we don't have to play
Um,
time guesser. We can just,
no, I want to play it.
we're playing it whether you want to or not. I don't even know what this is.
Okay, so you get a picture. It's usually like a famous picture, um, and you have to guess what year it was taken and where it was taken. So already, Library of Congress. This is
Oh,
almost
okay.
certainly
For
in
some reason,
DC.
people are dressed as um.
Minions.
Oh, that is a minion. Okay, I was looking at Snow White, but a minion would put it
Reading
more
is sexy.
more recent. Is this person a bee or a Pikachu or what the heck is this yellow in the bottom corner here?
That looks like a bee.
Okay, so we're at least in the 2000s.
Oh, I mean, yeah, we're post ironic minions, I think. So,
What is the
um,
green outfit?
and then
Okay,
this person has a shirt that says "Reading is sexy." This feels like 2018, 2019, 2017.
so it's
Oh,
probably
let me
not
go on this map.
21 or we're probably pre-COVID. You're thinking?
Um, yeah, I'm guessing pre-COVID.
Also, these are
Definitely
like
DC.
these don't look like very high end costumes. These look like regular old costumes.
Yeah, but it's in the Library of Congress.
It's weird.
Which, by the way, do you know where that is? Is that by the Capitol?
I don't know. I haven't been to
National
DC in a long
Archives,
time.
National Museum,
I'm sure I've driven by it.
Library of Congress. All right, so we're
Okay.
gonna place it there. And then we're going to say 2019.
Uh,
2024.
oh, it's more recent. We
Okay.
should have known since
Guest
reading is
attending
next.
live at the library film costume bar. Fun.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, well, we know where that is. That's Tiananmen Square, isn't it?
I don't know.
I think so. So now I just need to figure out where Tiananmen Square is. Is that in Beijing? Beijing is the capital of China, right?
Oh man, I don't know anything about China.
Palace Museum. Uh, okay, well, that actually looks like. Doesn't that look like the same building?
Uh, I don't
Like
know.
this
Could
sort of
be.
thing?
Let's go with
Yeah,
it. Let's go with it. Because what do we know?
I know stuff. Um,
Why does it say 1962 on your thing over here?
that's just that's the middle guess, so you can check anything. But well, this is Mao, so that seems probably relevant.
I feel like we're
Um,
probably the 80s. Oh, look, there's a white guy there in a tie and a what the heck color is his
you think it's
belt?
a white guy?
Oh, I guess it doesn't have to be. He's wearing a tan belt though. Um,
Oh, look at that watch. Okay. Um,
can I just say like it's 1985 or something?
when was the
Oh, I don't know if I can make it clear
when
how
was the
much.
Maoist uprising? Is that the 80s?
I don't know. I can't help you on this.
I think it's earlier. 1980. Oh, I was pretty close though.
Yeah.
4985 out of 4800. Nice.
Oh,
Okay. Where are
Gianni
the murderers? Innocent Turkish children and men.
Gianni disgraced the UN. UN let down. Turkish
Is this in Cyprus?
Cyprus. Maybe. Something happened in Cyprus? Let's see, look
I
at
don't
these
even know where
hairdos.
Cyprus is.
Let me think about these hairdos. Everyone's wearing dresses.
Yeah, I mean the hairdos feel 60. This feels like 60s.
That's the way I'm gonna go as well.
Okay, and then where is Cyprus? Oh, there it is. Okay, well, I'm gonna guess it's near the capital.
Yeah, let's just pick a spot.
Nicosia. Let's see.
It's
Yeah,
ready.
not anything super specific.
Let's go over there. Tripiotis. I don't know.
I'm gonna go to this park,
Okay.
and then 1960,
Sure. 64.
1964, and pretty close, pretty close. This is a good round so far. Okay, somewhere in Russia. It's a museum. These
70s,
feel
possibly early
70s.
80s.
Yeah. I guess it would probably be after 1969.
What does that say? Go to the right a little bit.
This.
I was hoping I could read that.
It says, okay, well, it's some sort of space laboratory in Russia, so probably Moscow.
Let's go in 1979.
1979. And let's see, where would we think that
I don't know. Do you see a space museum written on here?
no, it's sort of like some of these things are in
It's
English
very
and then some
brown.
of them are in Russian.
It's a garden. 50 something or other
I mean,
natural.
I feel like we just say it's near the Kremlin.
The State Museum of Oriental Art. Sounds weird. Yeah, just pick
I don't
somewhere.
know.
Oh, just been keep
Yeah,
looking.
we near the Kremlin.
75.
75. Still pretty good. Last round.
93 kilometers. We were close enough. I think we're in Portugal.
I think you're right.
Jose Cunha. Oh, can we see the street sign?
Teatro Republica.
Okay. Dude, I don't know. This is like the 30s, the 1930s or something. Why is everything so black?
Yeah, it's super hard to see. So like Lisbon, probably. Or could it be Porto? Okay. What did this say? Is it Republican
I'm
Theater?
putting Francesca, Theatre Republica. Jeez. San Justa,
All right, we
Lisbon.
want to say like 1935 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then occasionally it just pops out at you when you see it. But I'm not feeling super confident. So I'm going to say right here. 1916. I was pretty close again.
Oh, that's
448
meters.
meters.
You were at the meters, not even kilometers.
The funeral procession for Brazil's ambassador to Portugal, Francisco Regis, proceeding through Largo de Quito and Lisbon.
1916. Okay, so now we know what a 1916 photo looks like.
All right, let's see. Let's see where we were. Oh, I'm not logged in. All right, that's a pretty good score.
It seemed like we did good. 43,000 out of 50,000? That seems like a very good score. It's a
I
solid
think that's probably the best I've ever done. Bada bing. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Sorry that I got tired at the end.
beat. You're allowed to get tired. We were ranting.
Yeah. All right. See you
Okay,
guys.
thank you. See you next week.
See ya.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks. Bye.